Videos recorded by U.S. Navy personnel have added a new layer of evidence to the current national debate about UFOs. For the first time, radar images recorded inside a Navy ship have confirmed the presence of several unknown objects that swarmed around the ship for hours. I-Team reporter George Knapp here with a story that broke today on Mystery Wire.
Thanks, Brian. Over the past 3 years or so, the public has been able to see several astounding images of what certainly qualify as UFOs during encounters with the U.S. Navy. There's no question that the Pentagon has censored data to go along with the photos and videos, but none of that information has been leaked or otherwise released. That is, until today.
For 2 long hours on the night of July 15, 2019, the crew of the USS Omaha detected on multiple sensor systems unknown objects that surrounded the ship as it moved through ocean waters west of San Diego. One of the objects, a self-illuminated sphere at least 6 feet in diameter, flew alongside the Omaha for an extended period and was observed through a thermal sensor in the ship's combat center. Filmmaker Jeremy Corbell released the Navy video weeks ago and says similar events were reported by 8 other Navy ships in the same area over 3 days.
Mark bearing and range.
There was numerous warships that are having similar it appears to be coordinated interaction, and this whole series was within this kind of, I'd say, circumference of 100 miles, and there was up to 50 to 100 contacts.
In the last 3 years, the Pentagon has reluctantly confirmed the legitimacy of UFO images captured by Navy ships and air crews, including these photos taken off the coast of Virginia and the better-known videos, the so-called Tic Tac incident and the gimbal. Look at that thing! But other than the images themselves, there's been no release of censored data to buttress these cases. There is now.
OD, if you can write a general lat long where we're at, and the number of contacts you got, get the course and speed meters off them.
Over a period of hours, crew members on the USS Omaha, which is located in the center of this radar screen, monitored the approach of the unknown objects, as many as 14 at one point, all around the ship. 2 different radar systems watched the objects and estimated their speed.
Track 781 just sped up to 46 knots, 50 knots, closing in. Oh, actually 38 knots.
That one's pretty much perfectly 000 relative, right?
Yeah.
Corbell obtained the images from sources he declines to identify. The Pentagon's UAP task force considers the Omaha spheres to be true unknowns. The ships that were under observation by the unknowns were unable to track where they came from or where they disappeared to. The Omaha sphere appears to have vanished into the ocean.
What was splashed?
At that point, it also vanished from all sensors. In one video snippet, 9 of the objects were seen around the Omaha, but 2 of them dropped off, somehow invisible to 2 radar systems.
And it supports the hypothesis that these are not just a balloon dropping into the water, or it's not something that is easily explained. These are true unidentifieds in mass number, and we'll talk more about that, but that's what we're showing people, where you have radar data that goes with FLIR data, what everybody has been belly aching for. So here you go.
If these are foreign-made high-tech drones, how do they fly with no wings, rotors, or detectable exhaust? Do they possess some sort of cloaking ability? The sensor data, combined with the video images, raises difficult questions.
These are unidentified. We don't know what they are. Everybody tries to corner me in saying they're aliens or something like this. I have no idea.
Track as best you can.
George Knapp, 8 News Now.
The video of the radar screens consists of 4 clips that were spliced together to show that this went on over a period of time. Today, less than 4 hours after that video was made public by us, a Pentagon spokesperson confirmed it is legit, that it was recorded by Navy personnel and is in the hands of the UAP task force. That's the unit created to prepare a report for Congress that is due next month.
This is the book of Psalm, chapter 68 and verse 17. The chariots of the Most High are 20,000. Even thousands of angels. The Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, is among them, as in Sinai in the holy place. I want to give all praises, honors, and glories unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to my elders and my apostles of Great Millstone that doing their will. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect, the elect of the 1/3. Shalom. This is Brother Dawada. Come back at you with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. And today I want to do a video going in on these chariots, the ships, all right, the chariots of the Most High. You know, and as you can see, this is yet another news anchor speaking on the so-called UFOs, the chariots. And this is coming out more and more. And keep an eye out for this report that they're saying is going to be released. I believe they say over the next month, I want to say, from the Pentagon, I believe it is. I guess they're going to release some declassified information on what they have on the UFOs. And if you're wondering, well, why is the news talking about UFOs so much? Why are they bringing this out so much? That's because there's so much evidence that they can't deny it anymore. You know? And we're extremely close to Yahweh Shai's second coming, because everything is coming out now. Everything. So now they're telling you that the chariots are real, you know, which for so long they've said, oh, no, it's got to be something else. No, it can't be that. But now they're straight up telling you, even when you listen to the end of the video, said that the Pentagon even confirmed what it was that they saw, that those are indeed so-called UFOs, chariots, as the scriptures call them, you know. So let's start off in the book of Zechariah, the 5th chapter. I love that scripture because it shows you that it couldn't be talking about anything else. What in the world was Zechariah seeing that was able to fly up within the air during his time, before the Wright brothers were on the scene, before the airplanes were invented, before you had any such thing as an engine? What the hell was he? What was it that Zechariah the prophet was seeing? Zechariah 5:1. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes, the eyes of Zechariah the prophet, and looked, and behold, a flying roll. So he was seeing something in the air that was able to fly. Now, what I'm going to do is go into Zechariah 5:1 in the blue letter and look up the word for flying. Let's see what that says. You know, could it be talking about something else? Now, the word there looks like, well, let me play it.
Strong's H5774. Oof. Oof.
Oof. Which means to fly, fly about, fly away. Whoo, check this out. To fly, hover. Hover. Now let's look up this word hover. I've actually never looked up that word for flying in Zechariah 5. Now the word hover means remain in one place in the air. Wow. So he was seeing something that was able to fly and that's also able to hover. Now, what in the world could he be seeing? Because there wasn't no helicopters, there wasn't no planes, there wasn't no, some type of technology that Esau has out there. You know, it ain't no plane, it ain't no helicopter, it ain't no jet. So what was it that Zechariah the prophet was seeing that was able to fly, that was able to hover in the air during his day? It says, then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll, which is a metaphor for the chariots. The chariots, they hover and they fly. And he said unto me, what seest thou? Meaning, what do you see? And I answered, I see a flying roll. You see? The word for fly is oof, which means fly about, fly away, to fly, hover, to fly about or to and fro. Wow. It says, and I answered, I see a flying roll, and the length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, this, meaning the so-called UFO, the chariots, is the curse. Is going to be a curse unto Esau. Because when it comes, it's coming back to destroy America, to destroy Esau's society. But it's going to be a blessing unto the elect, because it's coming to deliver them. This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth, look how he got this place. He stole America, shall be cut off as on this side according to it. And everyone that sweareth, he makes you swear on the Bible, shall be cut off as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth. It is what the chariots, saith Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai, and they shall enter into the house of the thief. The house of the thief is Esau, the house of the thief is America, because he stole this place from the native tribes that are already over here. You know, that's why it says in the book of Job, brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation, because it is none of his. What is an individual's habitation? That's their house. You know, another word for a habitation is a house. The brimstone is going to come from the destruction. You know, it is going to be scattered upon his habitation. One of the reasons why is because it is none of his. This ain't his land. He stole it. Let's go from there to Job. Let's grab that. So that's the linker right there. Job chapter 18 and verse let's see, 15. It says, it shall dwell in his tabernacle, because it is none of his. What is it that shall dwell in his tabernacle? Fire, because this place is going to be destroyed. His tabernacle is America. And that fire is going to come from the missiles along with the lasers from the chariots. All right. So it says, it shall dwell in his tabernacle. Fire is going to be in America, because it is none of his. One of the reasons why is because he stole this land from the native tribes that are already over here. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. Yeah, brimstone from where? From the missiles. From the nuclear destruction is going to be scattered upon America. Why? Job 20 and 19. Because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor. That's us, the Israelites. Because he hath violently taken away in a house which he builded not. Yeah, because he stole America from the native tribes that are already over here. And he almost wiped out the Gadites. You know, then he brought the southern kingdom over here, and then he put the southern kingdom in slavery. So he has to pay for that. America was built off the blood, sweat, and tears of the Israelites. So that's his habitation, his house, which is America. Zechariah 5 and verse 4. I will bring it forth, saith Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai, and it shall enter into the house of the thief. Now, if you look up where is the number one place of UFO sightings, the number one place is America. There is no coincidence why it is such. And into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name. Yeah, this devil, he calls himself a Christian. And it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it. Same thing that we read about in Job 18. Same thing that we read about in Job 20. And it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof, and the stones thereof. So the chariots are going to level this place out with the help of the missiles. It's going to be a vicious destruction. You know, so once again, what was it that Zechariah the prophet was seeing that was able to fly even before the airplanes were invented? What was he seeing? Let's jump from there to the book of Ezekiel, the first chapter. And this is one of my favorite chapters, because when you go into this chapter, it shows you the great power of the holy angels, the great power of the so-called UFOs, and then you even get a description of the glory, the aura, and the majesty of the Most High. All right? So I'm going to hop around this chapter. Ezekiel 1 and verse 4. It says, I'll start at 3. The word of Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai came especially unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzai, in the land of the Chaldeans, by the river Chabar, and at the hand of Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai was there upon him. So this is Ezekiel the prophet describing what he's this great vision that Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai showed him. I read that again. The word of the Lord Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzai, in the land of the Chaldeans, by the river Chabar, and the hand of Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai was there upon him. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north. And this whirlwind was a so-called UFO. And if you notice, why is it described as a whirlwind? Because certain chariots, they spin. And if you watch the video, there's a point where the guy said, oh, it's rotating, you know, or it's spinning. No, what does a whirlwind do? It's something that spins. Let's look it up. What is a whirlwind? Whirl, in the conventional dictionary. Whirlwind, it says a column of air moving rapidly around and around in a cylindrical or funnel shape. You see? So it's something that spins around and around. And certain chariots, they spin. You know, and that's why he said, oh, it's rotating. It's rotating. You see? It says, I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north. So what is he seeing? He's seeing a so-called UFO. You know? And it's described as a whirlwind because it was spinning. Sir, the chariots, they can spin. And that's why the guy said, oh, it's spinning. Or he said it's rotating. A great cloud, so a huge so-called UFO. Because the scripture says the Lord maketh the clouds his chariot. That's why when you look it up, you got a term called lenticular clouds. Now, Lord's will, if I remember, I'll put an image up for you. When you look up the word lenticular clouds, and people also call them UFO clouds because they look just like so-called UFOs, you know. And there's one where it looks like at least maybe one or maybe even two chariots over a mountain, you know. And that reminds me of what happened in the book of Exodus, you know, when the Lord came. You know, it's either in Exodus or it's in Deuteronomy, you know. So these are what they call lenticular clouds, you know, and they look just like so-called UFOs. All right. Looks like a disc, as it were. So the chariots, they can take on the, rather, let's grab it. Let's go to Psalm. Because certain scriptures, they describe the chariots as being clouds. You know. Let's go to Psalm. Chapter 104. In verse 3. Who laid the beams. Let's start at 1. Bless Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, O my soul. O Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, my power. Thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty. Who coverest thyself with light as with a garment, who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain. How do you wrap your mind around that? Who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain. You know? In other words, that's meaning what? The universe is expanding. The Lord is expanding the universe. And that's what these so-called white man says. He's, oh, the universe is expanding. Did the Bible predict this thousands of years ago? Well, of course it did. But he don't acknowledge the power of the Most High. He don't acknowledge. See, he don't really believe in the Bible. Who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain. Who laid the beams of his chambers in the waters. Let's talk about the other planets. Who maketh the clouds. Here's the point. Who maketh the clouds his chariot. Meaning his vehicle. A chariot, the word chariot means vehicle. So he makes the clouds his vehicle. So when you look at these the chariots, some of them look like clouds. Case in point, lenticular clouds. Why? Because they're disguised in the form of clouds. That's why they said it seems as if these things have a cloaking, or rather he said, are these things able to cloak? Yes, they can take on the likeness of a cloud. They can disguise themselves as being clouds. Who walketh upon the wings of the wind. Now let's jump from there. Let's read the next verse. Who maketh his angel spirits, his ministers, a flaming fire. That's talking about the holy angels. You know, and it's the holy angels that drive or maneuver these so-called UFOs. So let's go from there back to Ezekiel 1:4. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, a great so-called UFO, a gigantic chariot. In the fire, it folded itself. The fire represents the lights. And the brightness was about it from what? From the lights. And out of the midst thereof as the color of amber. So it had brownish, yellowish lights. Out of the midst of the fire, which is the lights. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, which is 4 angels. So first he saw a chariot, then he saw the angels coming out of the chariot. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. And everyone, so the individuals that were maneuvering this chariot, they had the likeness of a man. Not the likeness of a creature with a big old gray head with some huge, watermelon seed eyes. And no, it's men, particularly angels, that maneuver these chariots. And, you know, and when you look up angel, the first thing that you see in Google Images is a so-called white woman. First off, all the angels are men. And number 2, they're not white. They have dark skin. They're actually so-called black men. You know? And then there's always a white woman with blonde hair, in which they don't have blonde hair. The angels, they have woolly hair. They definitely ain't blonde. You see? Now, if you don't see that, then you see the naked Edomite babies, or you see an Edomite man. It's none of the sort. That's part of Esau's blasphemy. Scripture said that he blasphemed them that dwell in heaven. And everyone had 4 faces. That's literal. And everyone had 4 wings. So he's literally seeing this. He actually saw this. So this is what these angels appeared as, which these faces represents the 4 different characteristics of these angels. So let's hop down to verse 10. And as for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man, that's wisdom, and the face of a lion on the right side, that's courage, and they 4 had the face of an ox, that's strength. On the left side, they 4 also had the face of an eagle, which represents flight. So Ezekiel, he actually saw this, but it also represents the attributes that the angels have. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. I'm talking about the wings of the angels. So now, let's continue on. And they went every one straight forward. Whither the Spirit was to go, they went. So the chariots, they would go everywhere the angels went. Why? Because the angels were actually inside the chariot. As is written, for the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. So it's the angels that were maneuvering the chariots, not no alien grays and all that madness. Which the word alien simply means foreigner or stranger. And they turned not when they went. So the angels, they don't turn. They don't have to turn. All right. Why? Because the angels, they hover. So when you look up Bison, Lord's Will Farm, remember, you'll see it here. Bison from Street Fighter, he hovers forward and he hovers backward, but his feet doesn't actually have to touch the ground. That's how the angels are. They can hover forward, backward, left, and right without needing to turn. All right. It says, as for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps, and went up and down among the living creatures. And the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. So he's describing that the glow, the aura that's around the holy angels, they have a brightness about them, because of the great wisdom that they have. As is written, wisdom maketh the man's face to shine, And the angels, they're pure energy. So they have energy emanating from them. It says, and the living creatures ran and returned. Here's the point. And the living creatures, that's talking about the chariots, ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Well, what in the world could Ezekiel be seeing that can fly in the air, that has brightness about it, that is moving at the speed of lightning? What could he be seeing? And if I can find a clip, I'll show you a clip of of a so-called UFO moving, and it looks like lightning in the air. Hey, that's technology Esau you can't mess with. So that's describing the speed of the chariots. They move swift like lightning. So let's go from there to Psalm 68. So you can read the rest of the chapter. It's beautiful. So that chapter basically is describing the great power, the majesty of the angels, the chariots, and the power and the glory and the aura of the Most High. We read further down, and that shows you that at any point Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai can deliver us out of this captivity. He has technology that Esau he doesn't even understand. And all this technology Esau has, the Most High Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai gave it to him to begin with. Psalm 68 and verse 17. The chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them as in Sinai in the holy place. And that goes back to the deliverance from Egypt, because the chariots, they were all over the place, and Yahushua was there also within a huge so-called UFO. As it is written that our fathers passed under the cloud. That cloud was a so-called UFO, And who was in it? Yahushua. I told you that in 1 Corinthians 10, the first chapter to the third verse. Psalm 68 and verse 13. Though ye have lined among the pots, meaning though you're in this low state right now, you're catching all this hail, you're being afflicted, the curses are upon you, yet shall ye be as the wings of a dove, covered with silver, and her feathers with yellow gold. because the chariots that made out of silver and gold, made of metals, you know. So the chariots, they're not no some figment of Esau's imagination, like he just made it up. No, the chariots are real and they're described of in the Holy Scriptures. And this ain't talking about a literal dove, because if a dove had, like Elder Apostle Tahar brought out, if a dove actually had was covered with silver, and if it had feathers of gold, it would be too heavy to fly. So this ain't talking about an actual dove. What's it talking about? It's talking about a so-called UFO. Psalm, or rather Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 12. Or rather verse 8. Who are these that fly as a cloud, who maketh the clouds his chariots, and as the doves to their windows? See, and that's talking about the deliverance of the elect. You know, so when it's talking about a dove, you know, covered with silver and feathers of yellow gold in Psalm 68, you know, yet shall you be as the wings of a dove, covered with silver and feathers of with yellow gold. That's talking about a UFO. So though you're in this low state, you're going to be delivered by the so-called UFOs in style. So you ain't going to be in this low state forever. That's what this verse is going into. You know, eventually the Lord will deliver us into those beautiful ships, and our enemies will beheld the elect going up into those ships, which you pray and hope to be a part of. When the Almighty scattered kings in it, because Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushua will use the chariots, all right, which are maneuvered by the holy angels to defend the nation of Israel. When the Almighty scattered kings in it, just like what he did unto Pharaoh. You know, the chariot was shooting out laser beams at the wheels of Pharaoh's chariots. It says it was white as snow in Salmon, because the chariots, they can appear white, like a metallic white. You know, the elder apostle Ariamlam said he saw a chariot that looked like it was some type of metallic white. You know, so these scriptures are on point. Let's hop down to verse 32. Sing unto the Most High, ye kingdoms of the earth. O sing praises unto the Lord Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai Salah. And the heathen in the kingdom, they're going to have to sing and acknowledge the power of Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai. You know, they're going to be singing about Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai. They're going to acknowledge his power. To him that rideth upon the heavens of heavens. Now, what are the heavens of heavens? That's so-called outer space. And how does he ride upon the heaven of heavens? With the so-called UFOs. That's why in Genesis, the first chapter, it says that the power is moved over the face of the face of the deep. All right, let's grab that. Genesis, the first chapter, in verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Now the deep, and when it says, and the earth was without form and void, this was before the earth was there. You know, everything was in an elemental stage, an elemental state. You know, so what did the angels, Yahweh and the angels do? They gathered these different elements to form the earth. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. The deep represents outer space. All right? The deep is outer space. It says, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of the powers moved upon the face of the waters. Now, even the so-called white man would tell you up there what you have is waters in so-called outer space. Even the so-called white man would tell you that. You know, you can look it up on YouTube, you know. So, and that's part of, because it rained during the time of Noah, and the Lord, he also opened the, how is it written? Just grab it. Genesis. And that's where some of that water came from, you know, which is from outer space during the flood. Let's go to Genesis chapter, let's see. Genesis chapter 6 and verse 10. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day, were all the fountains of the great deep broken up. See, it talks about the deep again. And the windows of heaven were open. So Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushua calls the flood gates under the waters, and the floodgates from the heaven to open up to flood the earth. And when he speaks about the windows of heaven, that's talking about the ozone layer, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So part of that water came from up there in the heavens, you see, because you have waters up there. Genesis 1 and verse 2, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the spirit of the powers moved upon the face of the waters. And the waters is so-called outer space, And when you look up the word moved in this verse, that word there is hover. You see? Because they were within chariots creating everything. See? So now let's go back to Psalm 68. So that's the explanation of who rideth upon the heavens of heavens. That's what, literally, with what? With the so-called UFOs, which were of old. Lo, he doth send out his voice, and that a mighty voice. That's twofold. That's going to, when you hear the great voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, or come up hither in the Paleo Hebrew, when the elect are delivered, and also the laser beams coming out of the ships, because the Lord's going to give the command. Ascribe ye strength unto the Most High, and acknowledge his strength, acknowledge his power. His excellency is over Israel. The excellency of the Lord is the so-called UFOs. An example of that is the deliverance from Israel. The deliverance of the nation of Israel from the land of Egypt. And his strength is in the clouds, the so-called UFOs. You see? So with that, I'm going to leave it there. All praises, honors, and glories be unto Yahweh, Baal Shem Yahushai, Baal Shem Kakudash. Double honors to my elders and my apostles, a very millstone that doing it well. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect, the elect of the 1/3. With that being said, Shalom. Barak Akim. Shalom.